Welcome back to Theories Amore, the channel where we dive deep into the mysteries, plot holes, and unanswered questions of our favorite stories. In this edition, we're turning our attention to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, a fan favorite and a book packed with hidden clues, ancient legends, and let's be honest, some pretty big logical gaps. From the mysterious movements of the basilisk to the strange way the attacks played out, there are plenty of things that don't quite add up. And in this show, we're going to break them down, explore some theories, and see if we can make sense of it all. But before we get into the theories, let's quickly recap the story. The Chamber of Secrets is the second book in the Harry Potter series and follows Harry as he returns to Hogwarts for his second year. Soon after arriving, strange things start happening. Students are being found petrified, and a terrifying message on the wall warns that the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. As the attacks continue, whispers of a legendary monster hidden within the chamber spread throughout the school, and suspicion falls on Harry himself when it's revealed that he can speak to snakes in Parseltongue. With the help of Ron and Hermione, Harry investigates the legend of the chamber and discovers that the monster is a basilisk, a deadly giant serpent controlled by the memory of Tom Riddle, who has been manipulating events through his enchanted diary. In the end, Harry descends into the chamber, faces the basilisk, and destroys Riddle's diary, putting an end to the attacks. On the surface, it's a thrilling story of mystery and adventure, but when you start to break it down, a few things don't quite make sense. How did a 50-foot basilisk move around Hogwarts without being seen? How did it know exactly who to attack? And why did no one put the pieces together sooner? In this episode, we're digging into these questions and much more. So get ready, because we're about to uncover the secrets behind the Chamber of Secrets. One of the biggest mysteries in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is how the basilisk was able to move around Hogwarts without being seen. This wasn't a small snake that could slither in the shadows unnoticed. It was a giant, 50-foot-long serpent. And yet, not a single student, teacher, ghost, or even Argus Filch, that who was always snooping around, ever caught a glimpse of it. Even more puzzling is how it knew exactly who to attack. A snake has no magical ability to sense blood status, so how did it always target Muggle-born students without mistake? The book tells us that the basilisk traveled through the castle using the plumbing, moving through pipes and only emerging when it was ready to strike. But when you think about it, this explanation doesn't really hold up. Even if Salazar Slytherin had designed secret tunnels large enough for it to fit inside, the movement of such a huge creature should have caused noise or damage. Something that big would rattle the pipes, crack walls, or at the very least, cause strange sounds echoing through the castle. Wouldn't someone have heard strange scratching, hissing, or water sloshing through the pipes? Wouldn't the castle's plumbing have suffered from occasional blockages or leaks? And what about Moaning Myrtle, who spent all her time inside the very bathroom where the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets was hidden? Surely she would have heard something moving below her, especially since she was the ghost of the basilisk's first victim. Then there's the issue of where the attacks took place. The basilisk's victims were found in relatively public places: the library, a busy corridor, a staircase, and just outside the bathroom. If the snake had to crawl out of a pipe, move into position, and attack before returning to the chamber, how did no one ever see any part of it? There were no sudden screams, no students turning a corner and running into a massive snake slithering across the floor. The idea that it was always lucky enough to attack without being seen by anyone seems a little bit far-fetched. Even if we accept that it somehow moved unseen, there's still the question of how it knew exactly who to try and make eye contact with. A basilisk is just an animal. It can understand Parseltongue, but it has no way of knowing the difference between a Muggle-born and a pure-blood wizard. If it had simply been wandering around looking for prey, it should have petrified students at random. Some purebloods and half-bloods should have been affected by accident, yet that never happened. Every single victim was a Muggle-born. That level of precision suggests the basilisk wasn't acting on instinct, it was somehow finding very specific targets. The best explanation is that Tom Riddle was controlling the attacks. Since his diary was possessing Ginny Weasley, he had access to her thoughts, memories, and her knowledge of some of the students' blood status. He could easily have learned which students were Muggle-born and used that information to instruct the basilisk. Because he was a Parselmouth, he wouldn't just be giving the snake general orders. He could have been guiding it in real time, telling it exactly where to go and when to open its eyes. But this still doesn't explain how the basilisk moved without anyone seeing it. One theory is that the pipes weren't just normal plumbing, but part of a secret magical travel system created by Salazar Slytherin. Instead of the basilisk physically crawling long distances, the tunnels could have acted like a hidden passageway, allowing it to move instantly between different points in the castle. This would mean the basilisk never had to slither down hallways at all. It could simply appear near its target, attack, and then disappear back into the chamber. That would explain why no one ever caught sight of it, even in places where people were always walking around. However, this explanation would mean that there must be several massive access points to the pipes all over the castle. Surely these unusually large entrances to the plumbing system would have been noticed and explored, leading to the Chamber of Secrets discovery centuries ago. Another possibility is that the basilisk didn't need to use pipes at all. Hogwarts is full of enchanted architecture, moving staircases, hidden doors, and rooms that only appear when needed. What if the basilisk could move through the castle in a way no one else could? Perhaps it was able to travel inside the walls, slipping through magically concealed tunnels that only a Parselmouth could open, with portraits or false walls posing as entrances and exits. This would allow it to avoid the main corridors entirely, appearing only when it was ready to attack. If Hogwarts had been designed with secret paths specifically for Slytherin's heir, then no one besides a Parselmouth would even be aware they existed. A more extreme theory is that the basilisk wasn't moving through physical spaces at all, but was somehow phasing through the walls, similar to a ghost. This might sound strange, but we know that Hogwarts is full of unique magical properties. The Room of Requirement can create entire rooms out of nowhere, and the Marauders map shows hidden passages that even Dumbledore doesn't know about. If Slytherin had used magic to give his monster the ability to move unseen, it would explain why no one ever caught it in the act. When you put all these ideas together, the most likely answer is that the basilisk wasn't just slithering through Hogwarts randomly. It was being carefully guided, using a system designed specifically for it. Tom Riddle, through his diary, was the true mastermind behind the attacks, using his knowledge of the students and his ability to communicate with the snake to ensure it only targeted Muggle-borns. The basilisk itself may have traveled through hidden magical passageways, teleporting through Slytherin's secret network, rather than physically moving through the castle like a normal snake. The attacks weren't random accidents. They were strategic, controlled, and executed with precision. The fact that no one ever saw the basilisk wasn't just luck. It was all part of a terrifying, well-planned system that Slytherin had spent decades preparing. And that's why, despite a giant monster moving through the school, not a single person ever saw it until Harry faced it in the chamber. Let us move on to our next plot hole in theory. When it comes to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, one question that often gets overlooked is how Albus Dumbledore, the most brilliant and perceptive wizard in the series, ended up hiring someone as obviously incompetent as Gilderoy Lockhart. Dumbledore has a reputation for seeing through people, understanding their true nature, and making careful, strategic decisions. Yet somehow Lockhart, a man whose magical abilities were massively lacking, whose so-called achievements were nothing more than stolen stories, managed to land a job at Hogwarts. Did Dumbledore really not know that Lockhart was a fraud? Or is there a deeper reason why he ended up teaching defense against the dark arts? Let us explore the theory that Dumbledore knew exactly what Lockhart was and hired him on purpose. Was he simply filling a doomed position with someone disposable? Was he setting Lockhart up to be exposed to the world as a fraud? Or was there outside pressure that forced his hand? Let's break it down. We all know that Dumbledore is one of the most intelligent and perceptive wizards in the entire Harry Potter series, So it seems strange that he would hire someone as blatantly incompetent as Gilderoy Lockhart to teach at Hogwarts. By the time Chamber of Secrets takes place, Dumbledore has been headmaster for decades, and he's known for his keen ability to see through people. So how did someone as fraudulent as Lockhart manage to get the job? Did Dumbledore genuinely not realize Lockhart was a fraud, or was something else going on? One theory is that Dumbledore knew exactly what Lockhart was and hired him for a specific reason. By this point, it was obvious that the Defense Against the Dark Arts position was cursed. No teacher had lasted more than a year since Voldemort first applied for the job and was rejected. With this in mind, Dumbledore may have realized that no truly skilled wizard would likely take the position, knowing they would either be forced out, injured, or worse. If no competent candidates were willing to take the job, then perhaps Dumbledore decided it didn't matter who filled the role. Why waste a good teacher when they wouldn't last beyond the school year anyway? Another possibility is that Dumbledore saw hiring Lockhart as a way to expose him. Lockhart had built his career on deception, erasing the memories of truly heroic witches and wizards and taking credit for their accomplishments. His books were bestsellers, and most of the wizarding world saw him as a brilliant adventurer. But Dumbledore, who had deep connections throughout the magical world, likely knew the truth, or at least had strong suspicions. By bringing Lockhart to Hogwarts, Dumbledore may have been giving him just enough rope to hang himself. In a school full of intelligent students, skilled professors, and magical challenges beyond his control, Lockhart's lies would inevitably be revealed. And that's exactly what happened. By the end of the year, his reputation was in ruins, and he had accidentally erased his own memory. If this was Dumbledore's plan all along, it worked perfectly. In addition to this, perhaps a more practical explanation is that Dumbledore simply didn't care much about Lockhart's ability as a teacher. He may have prioritized other school matters and seen Lockhart as an amusing distraction rather than a real problem. After all, Dumbledore had competent staff like McGonagall, Snape, and Flitwick to ensure the school continued to function, so a bad Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher for a year might not have been a major concern to him. Perhaps the simplest theory is that the Board of Governors sweet-talked Lockhart into the job as nobody else wanted it. Lockhart was famous, charismatic, and a best-selling author, exactly the kind of figure the governors would want at Hogwarts to boost the school's reputation. If Lucius Malfoy and other influential figures supported Lockhart's appointment, Dumbledore may have reluctantly agreed, knowing that the position was cursed anyway, and that Lockhart would be gone by the end of the year. In the end, whether Dumbledore knew Lockhart was a fraud or not, it's clear that he wasn't too concerned about it. Lockhart's exposure as a liar happened exactly as one might expect in a place like Hogwarts. And if Dumbledore truly saw it coming, then he likely viewed the whole situation with quiet amusement, knowing that the truth would eventually catch up to the so-called hero. And now we move on to our final Chamber of Secrets theory. We explore whether Lucius Malfoy fully understood what Tom Riddle's diary was capable of, a topic that has been debated among Harry Potter fans for many years. On the surface, it seems like Lucius knew the diary was dangerous. After all, he planted it on Ginny Weasley with the intent of causing chaos at Hogwarts. But did he know that it was a Horcrux, containing a fragment of Voldemort's soul? Or did he just see it as a powerful dark artifact that could stir up trouble? There's strong evidence that Lucius knew the diary had the power to open the Chamber of Secrets. When Draco mentions the attacks at school, Lucius doesn't seem particularly surprised, nor does he react as if this is unexpected news. If he had no idea what the diary would do, you'd expect more confusion, or at least curiosity about what was happening. Instead, he acts smug, almost as if he's waiting for something. This suggests he at least knew the diary had a direct connection to the chamber and the monster inside. However, it's unlikely that Lucius knew the diary was a Horcrux. Voldemort was incredibly secretive about his Horcruxes. He never even told his most loyal followers, like Bellatrix Lestrange and Severus Snape, about them. The idea that he would trust Lucius Malfoy with such a dark and personal secret seems improbable. Lucius probably saw the diary as a dangerous magical object, but not as a piece of Voldemort's actual soul. If he had known, he wouldn't have risked losing it so easily by giving it to Ginny Weasley. Instead, he treated it like a tool, something to further his own agenda rather than something sacred to Voldemort. This brings up an interesting question. What was Lucius really trying to accomplish? The most likely answer is that he was trying to discredit Arthur Weasley. At the time, Arthur was pushing for stricter laws against dark magic, and Lucius, as a high-ranking Death Eater with many dark objects, wanted to stop him. By slipping the diary into Ginny's cauldron, he was hoping to cause a scandal that would disgrace the Weasley family. If Ginny had been caught unleashing the monster, Arthur's career at the Ministry would have been destroyed, giving Lucius more political power. Ironically, this backfired spectacularly. Not only was the diary destroyed, but Lucius was exposed as the one who had planted it, leading to his downfall in later books. Even worse, Voldemort was furious when he learned that one of his precious Horcruxes had been carelessly lost. This suggests that if Lucius had truly known the diary's full importance, he never would have let it go so easily. Instead, he was playing a dangerous game, one that ultimately cost him dearly. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening to Theories and More. We've only just scratched the surface here. We'll be diving into even more mind-blowing plot holes and theories in future episodes, so keep your wands at the ready and your curiosity sharp. There's always something magical lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. The adventure is far from over, so stay tuned and keep your eyes peeled. Who knows what secrets we'll reveal next time? See you soon, and remember, the magic is only just beginning.